Chilling right now with my man Ge-ology, aka G Young, producer and artist extraordinaire.
And I don't see hip hop just as the music. I see it as the visual, sense of it, the whole art, the whole soul, the whole energy of it. Is like that's to me is hip hop. It's not just limited to just the music. I grew up in Maryland and Baltimore.
Oh, word.
Actually, yeah, I was in Baltimore. I came to New York when I was 17 in '88 because my aunt was here, my uncles were here. I had family, I had a crazy family in the city, so it's like. But I finally made the move and came, in '88, and just been here ever since.
Yeah, '88.
It's the soul. It's the soul of the people that keep anything moving. You know what I'm saying? It's like if you get too caught up in the money of it, or you get too caught up in the business, or you get too caught up in like any of the things that can kind of stray you away from why you really gravitated towards this in the beginning. If you don't really take a hold on your whole spiritual perspective of why this is important to me, and why it's important that I just don't do any old bullshit with this. You gotta take some type of responsibility. So with me, I wanted to take a responsibility as I got older, and that's when I started to really realize how important this was. And then over the years, just seeing like how things transformed to people complaining that hip hop was never on the radio, to a point where we're now in 2000 and the whole 90s is like people calling stuff hip hop that's really not hip hop, that's on the radio all the time. You know what I'm saying? That you just can't even deal with. It's like to see how shit has flip flopped from one level to the whole opposite of the perspective. 42nd Street now is, I miss the old 42nd Street from back in the day. You know what I'm saying? It's too clean, man. I'm just like, New York is glossed over now, and I'm just like, to me, New York is the griminess. It's like I miss the griminess. At some point, like I decided that I really wanted to pursue this art. So I decided to go to the school. It was a school called the Baltimore School for the Arts. They try to get rid of all the black kids at the school. I mean, that's the school I went to. That's where I met Tupac. That's where I met Jada Pinkett. Like, all of us went to school together. So
this was high school?
Yeah, in high school in Baltimore. So, and like, it was started a whole thing in my life that was like, I didn't even really see it coming, just a whole like change in direction, and that's when I really started to like learn things about myself that I wasn't aware of. Music, I grew up on music. My pops collect mad records, I grew up looking at album covers as a little kid, like the Stylistics and Earth, Wind and Fire. I used to just sit back and just look at the album covers, like whether it was artwork, whether it was photos or whatever. I just always liked the way the covers were shot, like especially during the 70s. It's just like, those had like such a strong effect on my direction. So from those days, just listening to music and like feeling music like that, I started to actually play an instrument. When I was in 3rd grade, I started to play the cornet, which eventually led me to play the trumpet. And then for a brief time, I played the trombone for a hot second. But I always wanted to play drums. But, my parents wasn't going to have that in the house and shit. So it was like, I always wanted to play drums, but I had nowhere to play drums at. So I had to beat on buckets and shit. I don't know, I just didn't have passion for the horn. I was like, I wanted to DJ.
Right at that age.
12 years old, I started to DJ, and I was whatever I could get, like turntables from wherever, broken turntables. I was fixing turntables, putting rubber bands in them because they had belt drives back in the day. There was no quartz turntable back then, and that's how I started to DJ. And DJing led me into doing production. in high school was when I really started to make like my own beats.
Yeah.
You know, ninth grade. Started, me and my man Darren, we had a group in school, and we was like, you know, just making beats and rhyming and you know, kitchen. Yeah, like we,
and shit.
yo, we just wilding out. We just did it for fun, you know. We enjoyed it, and it was funny because like this was before Pop came to the school, and it was funny because my younger brother went to this school called Roland Park, which was like it's almost like a elementary school and a junior high school. It's not a high school at all. So basically, I went there with him for like some festival, and I ended up seeing this kid that had this T-shirt on that said MC New York on it with the old iron-on letters. You know, he was rhyming. And little, and I didn't know, you know, I didn't know who this kid was. I'm like, who's this kid? You know, he was rhyming over here, you know. And I was out there, and all these people were around, and all these little girls and guys and shit, and he's just rhyming, and, you know. And it's funny, like years later, I end up seeing him up in my school. I'm like, yo, I'm looking at this kid's face. I'm like, why I know this guy's face from somewhere? And that ended up being Tupac Shakur. So when he first came to the school, it was like we were kind of like really adversaries, but it was like definitely we wasn't. He was the new kid in the school, you know. And he's a new kid from New York. He came to school, so he was like, yo, you know, who's this kid? You know, he tried to come up in there, but it was funny because we ended up like, you know, battling each other and just having fun and end up getting to know each other. And next thing you know, we all became tight. It was like me, Darren, Pac, and his man Dana. Because Dana and Pac was doing stuff, and me and Darren were doing stuff, and then we all fused it together, and we ended up starting the group together. So
wow, that shit's crazy.
And that's, you know, that was like my first real like group. Like, yo,
it's probably his first real group that people don't even know about.
Yo, it's funny because the first recording that he ever heard himself recorded was like created at my mom's house. You know, so
that's ill.
It's ill. It's like a whole history there. We used to write rhymes for Jada was trying to rhyme too back in the day.
Jada Kiss?
Nah, Jada Pinkett.
Oh, I'm like, bug. Yeah, I forgot about it. Yeah.
She was trying to rhyme and stuff back in the day. So, we had fun, you know. But me, Pac, and Darren and Dana, man, we was like, yo, we really was trying to get signed back in the day. And, you know, we had a lot of ill situations, like, happen, you know, where, like, people were just bullshitting us, you know, pretty much. But it was all good that it didn't happen, because I think, really, we needed more time, you know what I'm saying? And then you see how the history has all turned out and everything. So, really, I didn't really have shit at first. I was just, like, making beats on anything that I can get my hands on.
So you started with, like, your Pop's collection?
I started buying my own stuff.
Oh, word.
My pops was funny about his record. He wasn't trying to let me. He wasn't trying to let me touch his records. Like, now I can touch his records, but I got more records than him now. You know what I'm saying? He might try to come get my records. You know what I'm saying? And I like any of the BDP stuff, like any stuff that Scott LaRock was doing. You know what I'm saying? You know, I had like found objects. You know, Synsonic drums. You know. My friend had a Dr. Rhythm I had fucked with for a minute. I have a Dr. Rhythm, so that wasn't really mine. I had, my friend had a 505 he let me borrow. I had that for a while, so I got kind of used to it. Eventually, I ended up getting, like this, the Casio SK5. Because I know people that had the SK1, but I had an SK5. And that shit changed my life. That shit changed my life. Yo, the SK5 was the shit. Niggas could not believe the shit I was doing with the SK5. They was like, yo, I cannot believe you used that little ass keyboard to make this shit. Yo, I figured out how to produce, pause button tapes. I had the illest DJ tapes you could imagine. Like, there was so much shit going on in it. It was, crazy, man. But the pause button tape shit, like making DJs and mixtapes and shit like that, that shit got my hands tight. Like, that taught me how to play on the SK5 because the keys were so small, and I used to have to play the full shit, like, from start to finish, you know, because no mistakes. There was, like, wasn't no real sequencing or nothing like that. You had to do that shit, like, live. So. And I learned how to do, like, track recording, like, tape deck to tape that. I used to know and predict how many recordings it would take for me to finish this song.
Damn.
I had to think about that ahead of time because each time you did an overdub, the shit would speed up
Yeah.
and your key would change, you know. So I had to like pitch my shit down and try to estimate by the end of the song it's gonna be at the right key. You know, it was crazy, like mad scientific shit that cats probably didn't even know I was doing.
You
But
could you sample with that, or that
the
was
SK5, yeah.
a word?
Oh,
So that was like your first sampler.
That was my first sampler.
Alright.
Speeding up the records,
Yeah.
getting the most shit on there. Like
Yeah.
I was like, speed that shit up like that. You know? It's like fucking chipmunks and shit. But yeah, actually, that shit, I had to give a lot of love to Casio for coming up with that little thing because that shit probably changed my life. I think that taught me that I can make music regardless of what I have in front of me.
Word.
You know what I'm saying? And I didn't have to depend on having all this big equipment because I knew cats that had reels and all this shit back in the day. I never really had that. I was always the one like, damn, I wish I could have a studio. Damn, why can't I have that? Damn, you know. Like, it's still things that I don't have that I want. Like, I always wanted to get a SP1200. You know what I'm saying? That's like, you gotta have that. So I have to go get one. I still haven't gotten one yet. So I've only played around with it, but I don't have my own, so I never had a chance to really do it. I always wanted a 3000. You know, I have a 2000, but I want a 3000. You know, but I mean, I love the ASR. I want a Triton. I want a lot of things, man. It's like mad shit that I want, but sometimes I have to stop. You know, I've been on some real Herbie Hancock shit lately though, like collecting old synthesizers and shit. I got the Moog and Juno, and I just got my Rhodes and the Wurlitzer. So I'm on
That's
some
the shit they used to play back then, right?
Exactly.
Yeah,
so I'm like, I want to play my own shit.
Type shit.